Hello, welcome into the third edition of the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Chris Yow alongside the Titan Insider Terry McCormick, and glad to have you guys with us here as we are getting ready for the regular season. As preseason is now over, Terry, welcome in episode 3. We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. We are very glad to have former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb on the podcast. He'll be coming up in a little while. He's going to talk about the ins and outs of quarterback play, what he's seen from the Titans guys that are in camp, Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, and Malik Willis. And I'm sure we'll have our usual stock up, stock down as roster cut day looms tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a full show. Looking forward to it. And make sure to stick around for the entirety of the show as we get into roster cuts, like you said, and everything else that's going to be going on this week in and around the Tennessee Titans. We're going to take a 30-second break. When we come back, Kelly Holcomb joins us, so stick around here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast.
Being a part of a cooperative is being a part of something bigger. Farm Credit Mid-America is a customer-owned lender that specializes in agricultural financing for farm real estate, operating, and farm equipment. A unique benefit of being a part of the Farm Credit Mid-America Cooperative is our patronage program, which has put over $1 billion back in our customers' hands over the last 7 years. That's the power of a cooperative. Visit us at fcma.com to learn more.
I own the land.
I farm the land. Together we're farmers. This is our cooperative.
We are back here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Chris Yow, Terry McCormick, joined by former NFL quarterback and Lincoln County legend, Kelly Holcomb. What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. Lincoln County legend. I hadn't heard that in a while. I don't know about a legend, but being from Lincoln County, that I am.
I hear you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Kelly. I tell you, you're now the co-host of the George Plaster Show, and I thought about having George on, but this is a football podcast, so I needed somebody that knew football instead of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, George is not the guy for that. Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
We have an Atlanta Braves expert on the show already. We don't need another.
That's good stuff.
Well, Kelly, we'll get right into it. I know one of the things when I've been on with you and George that you talked about last year in the development and the process of Will Levis, you were concerned about his mechanics, especially his throwing motion, how he had a tendency to let the elbow drop, which can cause the ball to sail and be off target. The Titans have done a good job, I think, of tweaking his base, getting him to be more, working with his legs, getting him to put more into his throws and things like that. Have they rectified that situation to your satisfaction from what you've seen of him in these 2 preseason games he's played in?
He's done a good job. You can tell he's worked in the off season. His feet are better. I haven't seen him drop his elbow, which is good. And he's of course he hadn't played much in the preseason. We don't, you guys are out there at practice. I'm not. So I don't see all the throws that he's made. I mean, we got a calculation, on how many completions he has in 7-on-7, how many completions he has in team stuff. But I think he's done a really good job. You can tell that they've tweaked some stuff. Is it going to hold up in a game when the heat gets real? We'll see. But right now he looks really good. I like the thing that I like about it, and I saw this the first preseason game was, I always use the expression that Nick Saban used a long time ago. Football is an emotional game, but you can't play it emotionally, especially as a quarterback. I mean, some defensive guys can get away with that. I've seen guys in locker rooms so intense, they're hitting walls and doing all that. That's what gets them going. But as a quarterback, you cannot be that way. And I think a little bit last year, he's high strung. I'm high strung too. So I used to get in that. I used to get a little bit too emotional. And I don't know whether he's talked to somebody, because we all have sports psychologists. I used to talk to one, so I don't know if he's talked to anybody, but his demeanor is really good to me right now. Not standing up. I used to do that. He goes after they finish their series, whether it's a punt, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, he goes back over there and he hangs out with the coach. He sits down and he chills, and that's a step in the right direction. I don't think you get too high or too low. You got to stay even keel. He's doing a good job with that. I think his feet are good. I really do. I think they've got a base underneath him. That's what you get with young quarterbacks. I was teaching one a couple of weeks ago, and they think they're supposed to have these wide feet. You can't be like that. I mean, I told him, I said, I'm 51 years old, and my feet never get outside of my shoulders. And they take these long strides, and that causes inaccuracy, and so does your elbow. And that was what his big problem was last year. But I just like his composure in the pocket. And he's making throws. I mean, he only missed one yesterday. So I just love not only what he's done, but I know you guys are too. It's awesome to see this new offense because the Titans have been stuck in the dark ages for so long. And I think people out there that are listening to this and listening to everything, I think they're going to see a totally different offensive side of the football this year. I mean, I love the screen game. I mean, Andy Reid's a big screen guy, but it looks like Brian Callahan's going to be that same guy. You got to pick and choose. You can't do it where that it's going to happen, but you got to pick and choose. But yesterday, those are easy throws for the quarterback. They get a lot of yards, and they get it into playmakers' hands. I thought the offensive line did a great job yesterday, man. I really did. I thought they did a really good job. So overall, I mean, I give it a thumbs up. I know you asked about Will Levis, and I went on a little bit too long, but I love where he is right now. I think he's accurate with the football, which was my question last year with his elbow, but you can tell that he's worked during the offseason.
One thing, too, about this with Levis, the development, he has that gunslinger mentality, that aggressive mindset like you alluded to. Now, the Titans, and he needs to rein that in like you talked about. He doesn't need to go for the home run on every throw. Take what's there. That's what they've been coaching him to do. And honestly, I think I would rather have a guy who has too much enthusiasm and try to dial that back than a guy who's got a laid-back personality, sort of, and like Marcus Mariota got afraid to pull the trigger and put it in a window when it had to be. There's a fine line there, obviously, but I think if they can teach Will Levis that singles and doubles are okay, that you don't have to swing for the fences on every pitch, I think they've got something.
I think it's a deal, Terry, where you have to let the game come to you. That's what Tom Moore used to tell us when I was in Indianapolis. He was like, always make the defense work, complete balls, whether it's a flat route, a swing route to the back, a stick route to the tight end, just simple little throws or a hitch route to a wide receiver. Get it to guys, complete passes, then make them make tackles. And if you got guys on your offense that are better than they are on defense, that's when you win. And, we did the same. That's one thing that I learned from Tom Moore and those guys and Bruce Arians in Indianapolis. I mean, we did the same thing every week, but we had guys, the Marvin Harrisons of the world, the Edgerrin Jameses of the world, all those guys that, could make plays. So, if we know what we're doing, we can adjust to what the defense does. So, I can remember being in camp with Cleveland and, our head coach coming in saying, hey, we don't want y'all to dump it down for completions. Like, this is a time of the year where you try to see if you can make some throws. But, in a game, you have to take what the defense gives you. And if it's going to come, you just got to be ready for it when it does come. Just take the 5-6 yard routes, just throw them, make them, complete passes, make the defense work, keep yourself in manageable third downs, and then you're going to get a home run shot every now and then. You're going to get, sometime during the season, you're going to get the ball inside your opponent's 50-yard line, and it's first down, and the coach is going to call something. Well, yeah, let's take a shot. Let's figure it out. Let's take a shot with something. If you can get man on man with somebody, I think they've got, with Calvin Ridley and with Tyler Boyd, and you get DeAndre Hopkins back, that's pretty good, man. That's really good, and he's going to have a lot of options. And where does this Vanette guy come from, the tight end?
He's a guy that's kind of bounced around. I think he was with the Chargers for a while. His nickname is Baby Gronk. But the reality of it is he's mainly been a blocking tight end for his whole career. He's never really had a breakout season in terms of catches, but he looked pretty good yesterday.
He did look good yesterday. I know they're high on Josh Wiley. I know that. But, he looked good yesterday. I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. And you're absolutely right. I mean, he looks like a blocker, but, he made plays yesterday. And I tell you what, that young tight end that was undrafted, he's turning some heads now. He can do something after he catches the ball. He gives you some yak yards. I had guys that when you got the ball to them, they gave you no yak yards. They would congregate to tacklers. They'd go try to run over somebody. Well, that guy right there, I mean, he can make plays. So I think offensively, man, the offensive line hit. Don't y'all think the offensive line looks totally different than it did last year?
Absolutely. I think that's one area, though, that they cannot afford any injuries because
No.
none of the backups have really distinguished themselves in camp and preseason. But
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, there's no depth there. I mean, they've got to stay healthy. It's hard to stay healthy for the whole year, but I don't think they have any depth. But that first five right now, of course, I don't think they were going against the New Orleans tough guys.
no,
So I don't know, man, but it looks a lot better than it did last year. There's no question right now in the preseason.
Low bar, Kelly. Low bar. Yeah.
Agree.
You mentioned something earlier about this offense, and I'm excited about watching this offense. I'm less excited because my bank account's going to take a hit because the under's not going to hit every week like it used to. So that's going to be a problem. But other than that, I think it's okay. We're talking with Kelly Holcomb, former NFL, and I guess I put this up here just for you.
Oh, wow. Nice. A middle. Nice. I like it.
A little helmet up here. I'll only use that when when we have somebody of importance, on the show. But I just, I really thought that this Titans team yesterday really showed some versatility in the offense. And you mentioned that with the screens and the way that they are trying to teach Will Levis, to kind of rein it in. When you have the ability to change your offense based on not just personnel, because obviously we've had Derrick Henry in the backfield for so long. Now you've got a couple of guys, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, who don't give you the 8 in the box all the time that you saw with Derrick Henry. How does that change the way that this offense is going to kind of attack defenses? Because again, now Will Levis is kind of the guy rather than Derrick Henry being the guy, and these wide receivers are the important ones.
Well, I think the Tennessee Titans in years past have relied so much on the run. You stack the box, and Coach Donnelly, when I was in college, a middle reference, but he used to always tell me, he's like, son, if they got more to that side you can block, you better go the other way. And he's right. I mean, it comes down to a math equation. I mean, they've always got one more guy. Now, with the quarterback running more these days, it's kind of an even match now, but used to, they could always they still can put too many guys in the box. Now, you talk to offensive line coaches, and they're like, I don't care how many guys they got in there, we can run it. Well, that's not the case. You can't block them all. And I think that's going to be a significant difference from years past. I mean, they're going to go to this Kings personnel, which is 13, which is 1 tight end and 3 wide receivers, and you just can't stack the box. Now, if you get a team that can match up with your wide receivers, maybe you get one more guy in the box. Maybe they feel good about that. But I just don't. You can't match up with Calvin Ridley. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a kind of a matchup deal. DeAndre Hopkins has lost a step, but the guy can catch the ball. He's an excellent route runner. So I just don't think you're going to see any of that stuff. I'm really excited about what I see because it's something that I used to do. This is the offense I used to run. Now I'm sure it's different in many. The verbiage is a lot different. And that's what people don't understand. Like you can only call a curl route, a pivot route, a button route. You call it whatever you want to, but it's the same route. And that's the difference between offenses, the verbiage. It's not what we're running. So I think this offense, you see the quarterback, they get back, they hit their step, they hit, and they throw the ball. And that's when you got an offense that's dialed in, that has answers for problems that the defense gives you. And I think that's what Brian Callahan has brought in here. And I'll say this, man, I've said this on our show, but they've got 5 really good running backs. It's going to be interesting to see who they keep and who they let go. I'm not sure because the young kid from Tennessee is pretty good. The Julius Chestnut kid's really good. The Hassan Haskins, both those guys play special teams. So that's a tough decision. And it could come down to Hassan Haskins and the tight end that we're talking about, the young tight end. Like, which one are they going to keep? And yesterday watching Tony Pollard, I knew he was good. But golly, he's so explosive, man. He's patient, and so is Tyjae Spears. I mean, they're a totally different running back from what Derrick Henry was. Last week in that preseason game when I think Tyjae Spears scored, I don't think Derrick Henry could have made that cut. He's a big guy. He gets going downhill, and he's hard to stop, and he's been a legend here for the Tennessee Titans. But these guys that got back there, those little scat backs, they're really good. So I don't think people, as being a fan for the Tennessee Titans, could be any happier with the way things are turning out right now. Now, it's preseason, so it may be fool's gold. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's going to be a lot better than what you've seen, and I think this offense has answers for quarterbacks, which I loved. Get rid of the football, don't hold on to it, and get it to playmakers.
Kelly, back to quarterbacks, we've talked about Levis, but the two guys that are battling for the role behind him, and if they keep a third one, I really think Mason Rudolph is the perfect number 2 quarterback to run this offense because he's a guy, he knows his role. He's not the starter. He can come in, though, and he moves the chains. He's not going to wow you with spectacular plays, but he's also not going to put the ball in harm's way a lot. And I think that's a perfect number 2 quarterback for this type of offense. And then the other question becomes, did Malik Willis show enough to keep his spot on the 53-man roster, force them to keep 3 quarterbacks again? Because he has shown flashes of talent. He's shown an ability to improve. They've nearly coached the liberty out of him where, for 2 years we saw him, okay, if there's nothing there, run around until something happens or you find an opening to go. And he's really become more of a polished quarterback, but I don't know if he's shown enough yet to earn that 3rd spot or if they want to try to slide him to the practice squad.
Tough decision, man. I'll say this. I said this last week, and y'all tell me what y'all think. Because when I was watching the game last week, when Malik Willis came in at the end of the game, and he threw that interception, and then Mason Rudolph came back down. He took the team down for the game-winning field goal last week. It just seems like, as a fan, as a former player, as guys that are in the profession, like you're watching the game. When you're watching the game, there's a guy you feel more comfortable with, Mason Rudolph. When you're watching the game and Malik Willis comes in there, ultra talented, does things that make you like, wow, he can do this, and then he does some stupid things. But do you feel comfortable like you did with Malik Willis? I think the answer is no. That's what I feel sometimes. Now, yesterday, watching the game, and even on that last touchdown pass that Malik Willis threw, you can tell he's grown, because last year and the year before, when he got in trouble, he's taken off running, and he thought about it yesterday. But then he said, I'm good, man. I can just move a little bit. That's what a quarterback does. You move in the pocket. I can move a little bit and make a throw, and that's what he did. So he's getting better. I just don't know if it's enough. But like I said, he's got ultra talent. And can you use that some way? I've said before, can you use, like Pittsburgh used Antoine Randall or Hines Ward? Yeah, Cordell Stewart. I mean, all those guys were quarterbacks. And then they became receivers in the pros. Now, Cordell Stewart started out as a receiver, and then he went to play quarterback for a few years. But could you put him in a role like that? I don't know. But I think Mason Rudolph is the unquestioned backup. I really do, because I think the comfortability of him is so much different than when Malik Willis gets into the game. Now, I'm always siding with quarterbacks. I hate saying that stuff about a guy because I know how hard it is to play the game. And I want Malik Willis to, go to the moon, man. I know how tough it is. But I just don't know if it's ever going to click. He's got kind of the Tim Tebow effect, as I call it. When Tim Tebow was playing, he got away with it in college. He always wanted to see receivers open before he threw the ball. In the pros, you cannot wait. You got to throw it in windows, and you got to anticipate when they're going to be open behind defenders. You just can't be that way. And it seems like Malik Willis is that guy. But there's always a but. He has gotten better.
All right. Kelly, I know you're an offensive guy, but the defense, what do you see out of this defense that you like? What do you see that kind of gives you questions? To me, I like the style that they play. I think it's aggressive. I think it's going to be much more press man coverage on the outside. But like the offensive line, I don't think this bunch can afford very many injuries.
I'm like you. I really like, as a quarterback, I don't like people getting in my face, pressure. Like, if you get guys off, and you're not giving me pressure, I'm good. But now when you start moving guys around, you start giving me pressure, that sucks for any quarterback. You start getting some hits on me, and it makes me play a little different. That's tough. And I think Denard Wilson is bringing that aggressive style to this team. And I do like. I was quite excited yesterday for the Titans for the Sweat kid. I mean, I think everybody's worried about him rushing, but like he was manhandling the guy in front of him. He got some pressure on the quarterback. I mean, he's a stud, and if he can take up 2 blockers every time, that's going to free up linebackers. He's a big old boy, and he's got some athleticism to be that big. I don't know what you've got yet, Terry. I mean, we haven't seen the secondary play together yet. I mean, some guys hadn't even played this preseason in the back end, so they're going to be a lot better than they were. I don't know. I think the linebackers are consistent. I'm like you, though. I don't know about the depth. I don't know if they have much depth. And if that is the case, then everybody has to stay healthy. But I like what I see in all 3 facets: offense, defense, and special teams. I think the young kicker, I mean, you feel for him because he has no shot, because Nick Folk has been in the league since Methuselah was on the earth. So, I mean, he's not going to make the team. That sucks for him. But their returners, the kid from Tulane, I mean, he's pretty good, man. So I think it's going to be different. Now, they're in a tough division. Last year we talked about it. We didn't think the division was very good, but then all these young quarterbacks have stepped up. We still don't know about the kid in Indianapolis. But, I mean, it's become not so good division now to a really good division. And we'll just have to see what goes on. But preseason, I can't stand preseason anymore. I wish they would throw it away. It's awful. Nobody plays anymore. But I think fans, I think you guys, Titans fans, I think they should be excited about what they're seeing.
Well, I certainly am, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this season as we get started coming up in Chicago. And Kelly, thank you so much for taking some time with us. We greatly appreciate it, man. Your insight is phenomenal. You can catch Kelly each day at 4 o'clock until 6 on WNSR with George Plaster. Kelly, thanks again, man.
Guys, appreciate it, man. See y'all.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast with Titan Insider Terry McCormick. Stick around.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Terry, we are back here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast, and we've got stat stuffers. Who stuffed your stat box this week?
Well, I'm going with the offense as a whole, especially Will Levis. 7 of 8, 118 yards. And then the offense as a whole, get this, 445 yards yesterday. Now, granted, it was for part of the time the Titans starters against the Saints backups. But, you got to start somewhere. As far as other individual or other team numbers, I think it was 270 yards of passing. 270 yards, Chris. That's unheard of for the Titans in years past.
And it's insane to even think about, Terry.
And while Levis was out there were 3 plays of 20 or more yards, which are called explosive plays. And all through the pass game. That's a month's worth in past regimes.
I'm telling you, man, it's a completely different world that we're living in as Titans fans. And, the uncertainty is certainly there, but boy, it sure did feel good for the Titans to score 30 points in a game. I don't care preseason or not.
Here's your other stat stuffer. This team, it's been 35 regular season games since this team scored 30 points. I'm optimistic that number that's very high on the misery index will come to an end.
I certainly am as well. So, all right, one more thing. Let's get the Titans stock report.
All righty, Titans stock report going up. Will Levis, maybe the obvious thing, but a lot of people wanted to see how he would look with the first team offense out there for 2 or 3 series. He was 7 out of 8, 118 yards, looked comfortable in the pocket, made the right reads, the right throws. The only miss was a slight overthrow for Ridley in the end zone that forced them to settle for that Nick Folk field goal on the second drive. I think red zone work is an area where Levis is going to still have to continue to work and improve on because the field shrinks, and obviously there are less options open down there sometimes. But I think overall you have to be pleased with where he's at based on what he looked like yesterday.
I would totally agree with that. I think it is very exciting to see where he is today versus where he was last year. And, as we talked about, a lot of folks, including myself, were down on Will Levis as a potential NFL quarterback. And, but as a second-round guy, I kind of feel like the Titans may have gotten a bit of a steal there. And Rand Carthen did a great job. I will say this. There was a time, and I'll go back and find it if I have to on Main Street Sports Today, where I said I was coming around on Will Levis. I might have been a little early on that, but it certainly looks like in the end it may turn out to be the right call. All right, let's take one more quick break, and we'll preview this weekend coming up against Chicago. Stick around here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Chris Yow, Terry McCormick, back in 30 seconds.
He shoots, and he scores!
All right, we've got a little less than 2 minutes left, and that means it's time for the keys to the game.
The game is actually, they got 2 weeks to prepare for this with the Bears. The game will be obviously September 8th on the opening weekend of the NFL season. But a couple of things I want to see. One, I want to see this offense operate under pressure the same way it operated against the Saints. I want to see the offensive line hold up. I want to see them run the ball the way that they did effectively, especially off the right side behind Radens and Petit Ferrer. They've been doing a good job of run blocking. Then, obviously, defensively, what do they do against Caleb Williams? His first time out of the gate, I think Denard Wilson throws the kitchen sink at him to say, okay, rookie, let's see what you're made of. We've heard all the hype. Let's see if you can handle it. Now, Caleb Williams may handle it just fine. He may be the second coming of Patrick Mahomes for all we know, but he's still a rookie making his first NFL start. So there's some question there. And then the last thing to note is this. Kevin Byard. If I'm Will Levis and I'm the offense, I know it's a different setup, a different coaching staff and everything than what happened when Byard was here. But somewhere, some way, somehow, Kevin Byard's going to make a play in this game. He's going to get an interception. He's going to force a fumble. He's going to break up a pass because this one means a lot to him.
No doubt.
Beware of Kevin Byard.
All right. Come back next week. We'll talk with Blaine Keller, who will be joining Terry throughout the year with Titans coverage, and we'll have much more in-depth preview of the upcoming season opener against the Chicago Bears. This has been the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast on Main Street Media Television. We'll see you next week.